Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to a special weekend breaking news edition of the Watchman Newscast. We like to say that the Middle East never sleeps, and the weekends are no exception. We've got two major developing stories out of the region that we are following for you right now, and I wanted to give you a quick update because this is developing and unfolding rapidly. Number one, a major rocket barrage out of Gaza targeting southern Israel. Over the past 24 hours alone, we have seen at least 38 rockets launched out of Gaza into or near communities in southern Israel. I am getting alerts on my phone from the Israel Defense Forces on a regular basis over the past 24 hours saying, hey, the sirens are going off again. We have incoming rockets. I get these alerts on my phone from the IDF. So this is coming on a regular clip. 36 rockets launched Friday overnight going into Saturday morning, and two so far today, Saturday, April 24th. But unfortunately, the night is still young in Israel, relatively speaking. It's 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern time on the East Coast of the United States, where I am based right now. So it's midnight in Israel, folks, as I'm coming to you. But a lot of these rocket barrages oftentimes come overnight. So let's pray that this is the last of it, that it doesn't intensify overnight. But all bets are off right now because these kinds of exchanges, and it's not even an exchange, it's a one-way street of Hamas blanketing Israel with rockets. Of course, the Israeli Air Force is responding and striking Hamas targets inside Gaza, but these exchanges can quickly escalate into a larger confrontation. Okay, what is the source of the rockets? We know that Hamas rules the Gaza Strip with an iron fist, but there are other terror organizations that also operate inside Gaza under the watchful eye of Hamas. Two organizations in particular thus far have claimed responsibility for this volley of rockets that we've seen over the past 24 hours. The one organization is the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade. Now that is an arm, it is the terror arm of Fatah. That name may ring a bell. Fatah is the party of Mahmoud Abbas, the president of the Palestinian Authority, Israel's so-called partner for peace. So we've got the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade on one hand claiming responsibility. On the other hand, we have PFLP, that's an acronym for the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. You've heard so much, obviously, about Hamas, but there are, again, other terror outfits operating in Gaza and throughout the Palestinian territories. Of course, we've also got a very dangerous Iranian proxy operating in Gaza by the name of Palestinian Islamic Jihad, and you can bet that they were also involved in launching some of these rockets. Unclear thus far if Hamas had a hand in this. Usually they do more often than not. Hamas has not claimed responsibility yet, but I can tell you that Israel holds Hamas responsible for what unfolds in Gaza since Hamas rules Gaza. So this is happening on Hamas's watch. So when Israel retaliates, they will strike, rightly so, Hamas targets inside Gaza. So this is happening right now. Now, the reasoning these terror organizations are giving for this latest rocket barrage, and folks, we've seen so many over the past decade and a half. We've seen at least three major conflicts between Israel and Hamas, and also Palestinian Islamic Jihad out of Gaza. So sadly, this is nothing new. And these terror organizations are always looking for some new excuse to start up the carnage once again. This time, they are blaming it on unrest that has unfolded in Jerusalem over the past few nights. Pretty nasty scene around the Old City area of Jerusalem, in particular the Damascus Gate. It is Ramadan right now. Israeli police have said to Muslims who are observing Ramadan, hey, you can't congregate around the Damascus Gate area of the Old City. Now, if you know the Damascus Gate, which is not far from the Garden Tomb, where many believe Jesus was crucified, died, buried, and rose again, but the Damascus Gate, sadly, has been the scene of many terror attacks, folks, over the years. So the Israeli police are a bit antsy, I guess you would say, about large groups of Palestinians gathering there at the Damascus Gate. And along those lines, over the past several days, we've seen video on TikTok and these other social media platforms of Palestinians attacking Jews, unprovoked on a public bus, the one video showed. So tensions are high, and some Jewish organizations in Jerusalem went down to the Damascus Gate area apparently on Thursday night to confront Muslims there, and a lot of clashes started, and Israeli police were attacked by Palestinians as well. That is continuing right now. Tonight, Saturday, April 24th, lots of reports coming in, but Molotov cocktails being used against Israeli police, other projectiles being launched. So it is a pretty tense situation, to say the least, right now in the Old City area near the Damascus Gate and near the eastern half of Jerusalem, where obviously there's a large Palestinian population. But I say all that to say, just to give you the backdrop, this is what these terror organizations are saying. Hey, we're doing it because you're defiling Al-Aqsa, you're defiling the Temple Mount, and you're defiling Jerusalem, the Jews. That's what these terror groups in Gaza are saying. Folks, they don't need much of an excuse to start up the mayhem, but this is the pretext that they are using. That's the background to what's going on right now. Again, we hope and pray that this is the last of it. Only 2 rockets today so far, thank God, but 36 Friday night. That's a major deal. Imagine if you were living in those wonderful Israeli communities all along the Gaza Strip. There are beautiful Israeli communities there, folks. I've been to them many times. One community called Narim, I just saw on my phone. I get these alerts from the IDF. Narim, the sirens went off in Narim, incoming rocket. Imagine living under those conditions. As an American, I like to say, what if you lived in Canada Minnesota, and rockets were barraging Canada or barraging Minnesota from Canada every day? Or if you lived in Texas, rockets were coming from Mexico every day. How would you feel? How would you live? What would you do? This is the situation the communities in southern Israel are facing right now. But these are brave and resilient people who live there. I know them very well. I have filmed there many times for the Watchman TV show. So, folks, please keep them in your prayers. Quick side note here. This is such a serious situation that the Israel Defense Forces Chief of Staff, Aviv Kohavi, was scheduled to travel to Washington, D.C. this week to meet with U.S. officials about the Iran nuclear deal, which the Biden administration is hell-bent on re-entering. Israel, it would like to persuade them not to do that. But Kohavi canceled the trip to D.C. He's staying put in Israel just to see what's going to unfold here, God forbid, with these terror organizations in Gaza, which are targeting Israel. So he's staying put. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the Defense Minister Benny Gantz both said today that Israel is essentially preparing for any scenario. So, folks, stay tuned. And again, keep these brave communities in southern Israel in your prayers. That's one story, a developing, breaking story we are following. The other one, very interesting. We're still trying to get more details on this, but we want to tell you what we know so far. Arab media in Lebanon, in Syria, in Middle Eastern media in general, some in Iran, which is Persian, of course, but Middle Eastern media is reporting that an Iranian oil tanker off the coast of Syria suffered apparently some sort of explosion. There was a large fire on this Iranian oil tanker today, Saturday, April 24th. One Syrian outlet reported that, or a Syrian opposition outlet reported that at least 3 people on this Iranian fuel tanker were killed in this inferno, I guess, on the ship. Again, we're trying to get more details here. We don't want to get too far ahead. This is just what we know so far based on reports out of the Middle East. Now, these, at least some of these outlets are reporting they believe that it was a drone, an Israeli drone, that targeted this Iranian fuel tanker. We're looking to get more information here and learn more about it, but I'm telling you right now, this is a developing story that you'll want to keep your eye on. And of course, here at the Watchman, we'll be watching for you and giving you updates. But this is a potentially big deal, folks, because remember, Israel has targeted Iranian shipping at least 12 times over the past 2 years or so. Ships traveling from Iran to Syria. Again, this explosion today, or this fire on this Iranian oil tanker reported happened off the coast of Syria. Israel has targeted those Iranian ships because they are bringing oil and weapons to their allies in Syria, are the Iranians. Israel's trying to head these ships off at the pass and prevent weapons and oil that Syria and these various terror organizations can use to fund terror. The profits from these oil sales can fund terror against Israelis. So Israel has been putting a stop to that preemptively, and it's just another piece in that shadow war we've been watching, right, at sea, with Israel and Iran attacking each other's shipping over the past 2 months. So we will keep a close eye on that developing story. Once we have more details, I promise we will bring them to you, perhaps tomorrow, Sunday. Usually we're Monday through Friday here on the newscast, but maybe we'll even come to you tomorrow if, number one, if the situation in Gaza continues to escalate, and number two, if we get some really important details about this latest shadow war incident, I guess you would call it, involving shipping, the war at sea between Israel and Iran. Again, these are Middle Eastern reports out of Middle Eastern media. We want to get more verification, but I wanted you to know that this is happening. This is being discussed. Thank you so much for joining me on this special weekend breaking news edition of the Watchman Newscast. Until next time, which may be tomorrow, may be Monday, stay tuned. God bless you. And remember,